Have you ever been told you need to be more professional and then walk away thinking, what does that even mean? Right? Well, by the end of this video, you're going to understand what people usually mean when they say that and also what they don't mean. And most importantly, you're also going to find out how to respond with clarity and without shrinking or losing yourself or performing or having to become defensive. Right? Sound good? Hi, I'm Leezá Steindorf. I'm an executive coach and a business consultant, and I work with Fortune 500 companies and state and local governments and leaders across industries. And I help people navigate communication, leadership, and conflict with clarity and confidence. And I want to say this clear from the start. Being told to be more professional is one of the most confusing, challenging, and often, I'm going to say, destabilizing pieces of feedback that people can receive. And especially if you're early in your career or you're in a new position. Okay? Let me say, if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if these conversations help you make sense of moments that nobody really is talking about or explains, then go ahead and like and subscribe because it helps other people find them too. All right, so let's take this step by step. When someone says, be more professional, they rarely explain what behavior they're referring to. And quite honestly, they probably don't know exactly what they are meaning with that. They have a sense something didn't work for them, and that's what they end up landing on as far as feedback goes, which isn't helpful to you at all, right? You're left wondering, was it my tone? Was it my clothing maybe? Was I too direct? Did I speak too much or too little? Or maybe I wasn't direct at all. So there's all these things that you start ruminating on and questioning because you don't have any clarity. And here's the thing that's really most unsettling, is that one comment, that single comment, that's only about one thing, really, and then you start monitoring yourself, you globalize it. You start looking for things and editing personality or second guessing your instincts that usually kind of flow and feel natural to you. So the real issue becomes not your professionalism, but it's actually about ambiguity because there's no clarity. So that brings us to the next question is, what are people actually asking for when they say, be more professional? And how can you find that out? And so what we're going to talk about is separating the words that they use from the message. So in most cases, professional, the word professional, is shorthand for a few things. Now, it could be a lot of different things, but let's just take a couple of them. So it could mean, I don't understand what your message is. Like, I'm unclear in what you've just shared with me. Or that your tone did not match the moment. There was a disconnect there. Or that how you delivered it somehow distracted from the content of what you were actually offering. So they couldn't hear what you were sharing because something was in the way that you were bringing it across was distracting for them. Okay? And that doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. And it doesn't even mean that they're right in their assessment. But something happened on their side that made them say, you need to be more professional. And I want to call attention to, in everything that I just shared of reasons for them saying that, there was something missing. And what was missing is, you're not capable. That's not what they're saying. They're also not saying that you don't belong here, or that you need to be less of yourself, or more like them. Like, none of that's being said. Okay? And I'm going to encourage you not to insert that, and that's challenging. So what they're trying to say is that the signal that you were putting out doesn't land in a way they expected. That's really the neutral framing of that. And professionalism is not personality. It's actually a communication skill. It's how you bring your knowledge and your skill set across in such a way that it lands with other people clear, strong, and usable. So then the next kind of question becomes is, how can you respond to that kind of feedback without shrinking and without overreacting? You can do that. And clarity plays a huge role in that. You don't need to get defensive, and you also don't need to apologize. That's where many people, I'm going to say, unintentionally lose their power or they don't stand any longer in their strength, and they start to apologize excessively. I'm so sorry, I didn't get it right, and gee, please forgive me. Or they go quiet, right? Just don't say anything, let them talk, or maybe go the other direction and become guarded or defensive and, well, who are you? Whatever. And those are all, there's nothing wrong with those responses, but they are not going to get you where you need to go, okay? Not in a professional setting. Clarity, on the other hand, will get you where you want to go. As a matter of fact, it's going to take you all the way home, because what it does is it sets up a framework of connection and of really leadership. I'm going to explain that. So clarity says, I want to understand. Can you explain that to me? Or can you tell me what specifically felt unprofessional to you? Or what would you like to see differently next time? Or what were you hoping to see that I didn't bring? Right? So you are seeking clarity from them to understand their perception. I think of it as we're all navigating landscapes. Everybody has their own landscape, where the trees are, the mountains, rivers, desert, and we're all walking through those landscapes thinking everybody else is in the same landscape, but they have their own. So when you take the time to clarify what somebody means with their feedback or input to you, you're gaining understanding in their landscape. And that's really not weakness at all by saying, can you give me more information? I'd like to understand. It's actually leadership. So when you ask for clarity, you move that conversation of you need to be more professional or whatever the feedback is, but let's stick with that. You move it from a judgment to alignment. And what I mean by alignment is they're having their experience, they're perceiving you in a certain way, you're in your landscape, having your experience, believing you've come across a certain way, and those aren't matched up. And so when you start to come from clarity and curiosity, those two landscapes, those two perceptions start to align. At least there's more understanding, if that makes sense. Which leads to the next question, which is, what if being professional is not about being less of yourself, but it's about being more intentional with yourself? And I want to speak to that for a moment, because intentionality is really powerful. It is much more durable and impactful than performance. And I know performance is the buzzword, performance reviews and all those things. But intentionality is what drives all of that high performance. It's how intentional can you be with who you are and what you bring to the table. So this is a reframe that really matters, okay? Professionalism is not about suppressing your personality or trying to be a different person. It's choosing how you show up with all of your characteristics. Your warmth, your creativity, your directness, maybe your humor, thoughtfulness, whatever you're bringing to the table, who you are, it's how do you bring that? How do you bring it in a way that it is useful to others and it feels congruent with who you are? And your characteristics are not liabilities. They are not something that you need to hide at all. But what matters is intention. And what also matters is context and audience. And let me explain what I mean by that. Context is, what's the framework? What's going on? What do I need to understand about where I am that would help me deliver in a way that it could be heard? An audience, who's in the room? What are their needs? What are they looking for in what it is that I'm sharing, whether it's a presentation or it's simply a conversation? So who is it that you're speaking to? And when you are leading with intention, when you are being yourself on purpose, you actually stop performing. It's very grounding, and people feel comfortable or more at ease because there's not this performance hype. And you can stop guessing at things, you can ask questions, be curious, and you can start choosing and being selective about how you show up. And that choice actually builds confidence. Doesn't mean you're being compliant or giving in. It means when you understand the context, when you understand the people in the room, when you understand the landscapes that are around you, you can be yourself, all of yourself, in a way that is useful to those circumstances. So the next question then becomes, how do you define professionalism for yourself? Instead of chasing someone else's version of it or what they may or may not have said to you, how do you define professionalism? What does it mean to you? So you can stop the video for a minute and do that for yourself. Just write it down. And I'm going to continue and suggest that professionalism actually comes from the inside out. It's not a hat you put on. It's not a tie that you wear. It's not the briefcase or the computer that you have. It's really how your authenticity shows up. And professionalism without authenticity becomes performance. And when you're being authentic, but you're not on purpose, you're not being intentional with it, you can often miss the mark, especially if you're not paying attention to your context. And having that balance, it's not complicated. Being all of who you are and being that on purpose with awareness of where you're being yourself. So you can check out the room you're in. If you're delivering to a group of salespeople, you're going to probably be delivering not only different content, but also you're going to be doing it in a different way than if you are delivering information to a team that you are leading, which would also be different than if you are bringing information to your leaders that are asking you for content, right? So all of those factors play a role. It doesn't mean you have to become somebody else. It means you need to know the room you're in and the outcome that you're seeking to achieve or contribute to, and also what impact your delivery has. So when you define professionalism this way, from the inside out rather than the outside in, then you actually can stop trying to fit in or trying to fit your way of being a professional into somebody else's framework. And then you learn how to translate yourself effectively. I'm going to say it that way because if you speak two languages, for example, you're going to take what you say in one language and figure out how to say it in another language. And so professionalism is really translating who you are on the inside, what you know, what talents you have, what you want to bring to the table, and expressing it in such a way that it can be understood and land really well with the people that you're sharing with. And when you groom that, it's actually a skill that you carry into every room and every role and literally every level of an organization. You don't lose that. It's amazing. And so you can trust that and you can curate your professionalism. Okay? So let's bring this all together. When someone says to you, you need to be more professional, it is not a rejection of who you are. I mean, it may be, but you don't even need to take it that way if it is. Trust that it's not. It's actually an invitation, maybe poorly worded or frustration on their part, whatever it is, but you can take it as an invitation to communicate and translate yourself with more clarity and with intention. And in doing that, you don't have to, as I said before, you don't have to disappear and hide. You don't have to overperform. You basically just need more information. You need to find out what they mean, what their needs are. And in finding that out, you actually build confidence in yourself to be yourself. Okay? So if this helped you perhaps reinterpret feedback that maybe felt unsettling or that you shy away from, go ahead and like the video and subscribe. As I said, it lets other people find it. And you can also share this with someone else who's navigating challenging situations or maybe starting out in their career and looking for support. And in the next conversation, we're going to talk about something that a lot of people struggle with, but they do so silently. And that is, I really want to speak up, but what if I get it wrong? Okay, that's in the next video. All right, I just want you to remember that leadership does not begin with certainty. You do not have to know what's going on in order to show up and to be yourself. You can step into curiosity even if someone's giving you feedback that rankles a little bit. You can trust that, okay? All right, thanks for listening. Till next time, be well.